but I forgot it on my desk. What can
because I don't have good hair. And
yeah,
how's
my
everybody?
hair is weird today.
How's everybody doing today? My name is Matt. I'm here with HB, and I'm here with Mark.
Happy New Year.
Happy
I guess
New Year.
It's
I
the
think
first 2020
Wait, is it?
stream. Yeah, last time was
Yeah.
on the 31st. It was New Year's Eve.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
So this is the first dev stream of the year. If you're new here, we do these streams usually every 2 weeks, with some exceptions around big updates.
Mm-hmm.
Usually we talk about community stuff, and we talk about new features that are coming up. Probably, at least new stuff we're working on.
stuff we're working on that may or may not turn to features.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't turn into features.
Yeah. And then people are like, what about that thing you talked about 2 months ago?
You
So
guys
we're
said
like,
it was coming.
just don't worry about that thing.
Anyway, Mark, why don't you start us off here? What are we talking about today?
Well, everyone's finally back at the office this week. This is the first, I think, week where everybody is back at the beginning of the week. So the wheels are turning again. I'm going through over the holidays, I got sent pretty much volumes of feedback that I hadn't read most of it because I was on holidays, and I was like, this year I'm not gonna read all this stuff over the holidays. And I also was away for a week, so I sat down this week and going through the volumes, Foxhole Community Feedback Volume 1. So I'm going through basically.
It's like a series of dissertations.
It's a series of very long essays. People like to DM me very long essays. So I'm going through all that. We're taking a look at some of the goals and the areas of the game that we wanted to work on, as we outlined on the last stream. We outlined, if you remember that, one of those slides where these are things we're going to focus on. So we're putting together a plan, and update 33 will start seeing some of that plan come into fruition. But it's good. It's good to be back. It's good to be in full swing again, I would say. I think it's safe to say now that we're sort of moving on 100%. And yeah, it's good to be back. It's exciting to be working on things again.
Where'd you go on vacation, Mark?
I went to the Dominican Republic.
How'd that go? How'd that go?
Sat on a beach for a week. And
Yeah, you look very weathered.
Mostly
The opposite of me.
yeah, couldn't help but everything was reminding me of Foxhole. I have a little story. There was a couple or a group or whatever, and they had reserved some seats on the beach, right? You can go to the beach early and you can get a seat or whatever, and you throw your towel there, and then later on, these other people came and they sat there, right? They said, "Screw you! I want to remove your towel and I want to take these seats." And then when the people came back, they're like, "No, this was our seat because I put my towel there." And then they got into a little argument and got kind of heated. And I was like, "Man, this is just Foxhole, this is why are you stealing my shit?" And I was like, they should really implement a log, a log for the seat, so they know
Seat log.
a seat log. It was pretty much griefing the seats at the beach. So
Oh my god.
that's how hard it is for me to separate myself from Foxhole.
That's so funny. I mean, Foxhole is a weird anthropological study of human behavior sometimes.
yeah, exactly. So it's I mean, griefing exists everywhere, right? It's not just in Foxhole. It exists in
Absolutely not.
even on the beach, right? So, anyways, that's my little short story.
All right, HB, why don't you take us away and we'll get started on community highlights.
Cool. We're gonna be doing community highlights. We're gonna go back to community highlights preview. For the people that don't know, community highlights is a blog post that we do every 2 weeks as well. KFC gathers all the cool stuff that you guys are doing, and he puts it together on this giant blog post that has audio, video, lots of text, and absolutely a shit ton of illustrations that the community created, and we just want to showcase them. But During the dev stream, I do a little preview of some of the stuff that you guys are gonna be able to see at that blog post. So without further ado, let's start because we have a lot. First thing,
Let's just get it right out of the way.
yeah. First things that I really wanted to showcase. Commander Rod. Commander Rod has been doing music for the 82DK and for other people for quite a while now. Really talented musician, and he made a parody of Toss a Coin to Your Witcher, which, I mean, if you don't know what it is, well, go watch it. It's pretty cool. But he made a parody, so I'm gonna try to see if it plays. Hopefully it plays. Probably not.
Did you click it?
Is it working?
I don't think so.
No. Okay, hold on.
We have backup plan.
When a humble bard
Is that
raced
playing at all?
right along with a logistics commander, along came the song from where
they
the
can- for
hammers
some reason-
fell. A silver-tongued devil.
But you guys should be able to hear it.
His partisans at
Yeah.
his feet did they revel. They came
Yeah,
after
it's
me
really cool. I think you
with
guys.
masterful
I'm
deceit.
just putting
Brought
like a
down my
little bit of a
truck
taste of it
and
here right
they
now.
kicked in my
But
teeth.
you guys
While their
definitely should check it out.
minced our tender.
It is the whole song, which is really nice. And you guys can find the whole thing. Congrats to Commander Rod. The song made the rounds here in the office, and I particularly listened to it a couple times.
Yeah, you listen to it quite a bit.
Yeah. Other than that, we also have some more illustrations. We have Valo doing some really cool, what was the player that used to do illustrations sort of like in this realistic style on the left there?
Wasn't it like Commissar Jimbo?
Yeah, it
Commissar
reminds me
Jimbo,
of Commissar Jimbo's.
yeah. I think he might be using the same engine or something like that.
Is it the source engine or was it
Might
something
be.
else? Yeah.
So I don't know, but it looks really cool. Nice composition. And then Lurkus on the right there, he made like the Foxhole rendition of a pretty famous comic strip. I don't remember if the comic strip is from XKCD, the Oatmeal, or Cyanide and Happiness, or somebody else. But it's a very well-known comic, and it fits Foxhole so well, and I love his art style. So yeah, and congratulations for Lurkus, because it got me laughing a lot when I saw it. Other than that, Press Corp is once again back with doing some amazing journalism in the world of Foxhole. Sorry.
You okay, HP? So,
Oh.
these are pretty cool. I follow Press Corps on Twitter, and or at least I think I do. I see a lot of Press Corps on Twitter. And
It's
these-
either you're following Presscore or
I'm
you're
following Foxhole.
following Foxhole because we retweet most of his stuff. So.
And if I'm not following Press Corps, I should be. These pop up, and they're really cool. They're effectively like a newspaper compiled of like player stories in the game, and they're coming out like pretty frequently. As you can see, there are quite a lot of them. I think each one of these represents a different.
Yeah, almost every war that we
Yeah.
have has like a different journal, and then of course Press Corps also has like their audio component. So if you guys want to read it in full, it's totally worth it. Go check out the blog post.
Yeah, there's like a lot of work
A lot
that
of
goes
work.
into it. It's not just by one guy. It's like a whole team.
Those
right?
pages that you're seeing
Yeah.
in the back there, they're not fluff. It's not like you have like one image and then
Yeah.
like some. No, these are actually like full pages, full page issues. It's pretty cool.
They're doing like reporting basically.
Yeah, it's really nice.
neat.
Panzer once again making these amazing concepts in 3D for like new vehicles and stuff like that.
I think he's been like ripping our vehicles and then like kit bashing them and then adding his own pieces. And
Yeah, I think so as well. You can like recognize some areas as like, I see this, but doesn't detect from the fact that it's pretty amazing work being done. I love seeing those concepts because you see sometimes like a lot of like drawings, but when you see it in 3D, it feels much more closer to the world of Foxhole, just because that's the way that we developers also see our stuff. We see them basically in gray mesh all the time. Most of the time when I receive something to rig, that's exactly how I see it. So for me, Like when I look at something like that, I'm like, oh man, this would be really cool, really simple rig, whatever. It feels very real.
This looks like a pretty
Yeah.
complicated rig. It's
No,
just-
this one is not a very complicated
no,
rig.
it's just a lot of parts, but
Lots
it's
of
not
parts,
complicated.
but not complicated.
Yeah, because it's all like mechanical.
Exactly.
right?
Yeah. I mean, you can have mechanical stuff that is complicated when things have to work together. This one is simple.
You know what? I'm sorry. Like, this is really cool, but that thing is not going to fit across the bridge, man.
Yeah.
They didn't think that through, did they?
Well, maybe just can't run from one region to another at all, ever.
It just
you know-
destroys the bridge.
Do you
Just
actually
goes
know how
right
many
over.
times we've made a vehicle and been like, this isn't going to fit under the bulwark? Like,
Yeah,
this,
well,
this
like,
stuff happens.
I think there's a couple of checks that we always do. One,
Yeah.
does it fit under the bulwark? Two, does it go over a bridge? Three, does it clip through a vehicle factory? Like
4, does it break the camera?
right? And there's like all these little things that we learn to check every so often, or anytime we introduce something new. And I think so.
Yeah, no, it's pretty.
You know what I
great.
like to see? I like to see Panzer IV with a keyhole turtleneck. It's a very long name.
Yeah.
Make a some sort of like a battleship or something. I think that'd be cool.
Panzer
If he's
IV,
taking requests,
make a battleship.
yeah.
I
Make
don't
a battleship,
care,
man.
I don't care if you're taking requests. Just
Yeah.
you better do it. Also,
Great.
your name is now Panzer IV. I'm not
Saying the
I'm
whole
not saying
thing.
the rest of the name.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a little
It's
bit
too much.
big.
It's too much, man.
And last but not, I think this is the last. We have some.
This is cool because it's the art style. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, go on, go
But
on.
it's a bit like it's not that common that we see something like that's this specific style,
Uh-huh.
right? Like we see similar styles, but this just kind of jumped out at me as
Uh-huh.
like visually new, right? So
Yeah, no, it's quite neat, huh? You can see that it would fit. It's not Foxhole style, but it definitely you can see the influence there, and
Yeah.
it's really really cool.
flamethrowers, that's cool.
I mean, whew, that would be. See, look at that concept. That would be an interesting concept, huh? One day.
That would be. It's like a flamethrower uniform.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
One thing that we
Definitely
have
cool.
to say is that unfortunately that middle concept will never get into the game because nobody's allowed to use red crosses into games because the red cross has a copyright on it, literally. That's why and every other game
Yeah.
crosses, if they are denoting medics, crosses has to be a different color.
I think no matter what, if you're doing a red cross, you're not allowed to do it. I think just period, no matter what the purpose is, they'll cut you off. They'll get mad
No,
at you.
I think that as long as if I'm not mistaken, if you're doing like for instance you're showcasing like for instance sum of two numbers and the plus sign in the middle
Oh,
is red.
well.
That's what I'm saying. There is like it has to be being able to be confused with the fact that it's like attached to medicine, attached to healing. And
Yeah,
shit
I mean,
like
I suppose. I mean, the first case I remember reading about this was Baldur's Gate.
that. Or healing couldn't be.
It was a healing spell.
Yeah,
and then they changed it to blue, I think.
Yeah, something like that's why you see them different colors. And I'm pretty sure that in other games they use different symbols like crescent moons and things like that, also for the same reason. Cool. There's so Red Cross Clan is a myth? No, it's not necessarily a myth. Oh, there's more. Cool. Oh, look at that Superior bringing back my sweet Mac.
You know,
So that is a complicated rig.
Yeah, I was
That
gonna
Mac
say.
there was a complicated rig.
That was
Yeah.
probably the hardest thing to put together from, I think, like an audiovisual perspective.
It was pretty hard.
You know, there was talk about we had a roundtable on Friday. I think it was Friday night, and there was talk about bringing back the mechs in for the annual festival, for like a battle royale with mechs.
Ooh.
Right. I mean, this is just completely like a brainstorm that someone mentioned on the. Someone mentioned that someone may have been me. I don't remember. Like, a few people. Maybe someone else said it, and we just all started talking about it. It'd be cool to have like a battle royale with mechs.
That would
'Cause
be cool.
Just as an early plug, the annual festival is a couple of months away, right?
Are you
So-
sure if it's a good idea? When Fortnite tried to add Max into their battle royale, they got yelled
Yeah, but
We're
we're better than Fortnite, so it's fine.
So I feel like the mech has its place in any event, any special event, if we wanted to.
at. No, I would love to.
You know, I think it'd be cool if there was like one thing I like to see, and I mentioned this was I like to see a water event at the festival this year, like
Oh, that would be really
maybe like a
cool.
motorboat race or like a some sort of like
Yeah.
swimming event or think that'd be
Kind
kind
of
of
like it
cool.
would be cool if like kind of like a kart race in which like you have like unlimited
Like Mario Kart style.
Yeah, Mario Kart, like
where
so
you can shoot the other
you
guy.
can shoot the other guy, but you also
yeah.
have unlimited resources. So if you're missing all the shots,
It's fine. Yeah.
it's fine. So that becomes kind of a race because
That'd be kind of
That would
fun.
be really fun. Yeah.
Like if we made, I don't know, like we can find like a long river. Actually, you know, it could be around like Fairnet Coast.
Yeah.
That's like a circle,
You
right,
got
Matt?
a circle.
Yeah.
It would be like a regatta. Like,
think there's
like
I think there's
boat
a-
race, right?
You
Yeah.
hear that, Casper? That's
There you go.
I add that to the list.
I think there's
Because
an,
you don't already do enough work.
Man,
as
that
it
guy
is.
manages that whole festival, and I don't know how he does it. Because, well, I mean, he gets a lot of help too, so we also have to give lots of recognition to the helpers.
yeah,
but
absolutely.
it's a huge, like, I don't think people understand how hard it is to manage a huge event like that. It's very stressful.
2 days of event.
It's 2 days, but even
A
like
lot.
like think about like the Red River demo. That was just like 1 hour, and that was already hard to manage,
Yeah.
right? So, anyways, sorry, I completely
plus,
sidetracked.
absolutely.
they set up everything in game.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not like
they have
us.
to-
Yeah, that literally set everything up in game.
Let me tell you,
really
it's
hard.
much easier to set that stuff up not in game.
Yeah. Oh my god, so much easier.
Anyways, I'm excited about the festival.
No,
That's
no,
it.
it's gonna be
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
And the last thing, I just wanted to comment on the image because Mummy has been doing a lot of illustrations, but the style that they do it is like on the very chibi and SD. I've seen some other illustrations before, like more on a more I'm not gonna say realistic, more anime-like in a way, more traditional anime-like. And I think that this particular one on the right is pretty good. And I think it would be really nice if our characters showcase their RPGs on their backpack. Just saying. It would be really, really cool.
That would be cool, HB. Okay, let's move on to our development update. Let's not delay because we have digressed. Mark, please.
Because we have that what? That,
Digress.
Digressed.
the digressed, yeah. Development update. So, you know, we've been off for a while, so things are slowly ramping up. So there's not too much like new features that are like officially planned to talk about today. But what I want to do is just share a couple of things that are work in progress that the team is working on, and they're hoping to touch upon in the next couple of updates. But as always, you know, some of these things might change because we're still in this period of like ramping back up and figuring things out. So first thing, this is a small thing. Matt, actually, maybe you could talk a little bit more about this, but you
Yeah.
and Max are revamping Tempest Island, and there was, I got a couple of notes from Max, but you can probably shed a lot more light onto this than I can.
Yeah. So we weren't originally planning to make any changes to this, because Tempest Island is a map that like the island part itself, people actually do quite like quite a bit. But unfortunately, when we were doing update 26, the landscape got corrupt, and we managed to fix it for update 26. But the way we fixed it made it incompatible with update 32. So the only there was two ways we could have fixed it, and one of them would have been a risk at it being corrupt again in the future. So we decided to just rebuild it.
And the specific corruption you're talking about is the holes, right?
Yeah, so the holes that are happening in Tempest Island are caused by corruption in the landscape. This is game development. Sometimes things just get corrupt. And so basically the landscape was twice the size, or had fewer points with which to make holes, which caused an error in the calculations because one of the axes was scaled incorrectly. It was really weird. Anyway, so we are rebuilding it, and KFC is working on this redesign, and it's not really that much of a redesign. Like a lot of it's going to be the same, except the waterway into the east, I think, is going to be closed off, and we're going to have a waterway like a shipping canal basically that goes right to Iris. The towns are going to be a little bit more pushed away from the center, and some of the other like remnants of older towns when we had 4 towns are going to be removed, obviously, because this is being redone, and there's going to be some more geographical features. He's been working pretty hard on it, and you know, we've been going back and forth on different changes quite a bit. Actually, it hasn't been. We want to keep it the same as much as we can because there is sort of like this like zen to this map. There's something about it that was always really fun, people like. So I don't want to destroy that too much, but we are making some changes to it. So that's
Cool.
pretty much it.
Great. Thanks, Matt. Another thing we're working on is the new bunker garrison. So this is actually something that almost made it into update 32, but we're just sort of, they were like, in terms of the planning and like design and all that stuff, it was probably like 60-70% there. So we just had to come back around and wrap this up. So this is more like, this is not something new for us. It's sort of like wrapping up what was work in progress. So first of all, there's going to be the machine gun garrison, which is the equivalent of a pillbox, and that should sort of. So what we wanted to do when we first did this is have a bit more of a parity between what you can do with sort of the field defenses, is what we're calling now, which is the defenses you can build outside of a bunker network, just the foxholes, your pillboxes, all the old things. We want to have like a parity between those and the ones you can build within the bunker. So the machine gun garrison is the equivalent to the pillbox, right? Excuse me. And the other thing is the howitzer garrison. So this is new. This is actually doesn't have an equivalent and in the field defenses. And basically, it's a long range like AI structure, but it is unique in the sense that it only does reactive fire. So if you like aggro it, I'm sure everyone knows what that means, you can, it will fire back, but normally it won't fire at you, basically, right? So what this is really meant to do is players are like investing a lot of time into these bases, and we want to make sure that if one of these bases are taken out, that it's taken out not by like 2 or 3 people in the middle of the night, especially with something we haven't seen as much now, but in winter months like February, the population will probably get a bit smaller, and then we might start seeing more things like at nighttime, people sneaking in and trying to do all kinds of sneaky stuff. We want to make sure that when these bases that players are spending so much time making, when they're taken out, it's taken out by like a large force, right? It's taken out a large force of tanks, and it's like a cooperative effort as opposed to like 2 people sneaking in with like a mortar, right? So if you try to do that, this will fire back at you. But outside of that, it won't fire at you, right? So these are hopefully coming in update 33. Another thing we're working on here, and this is way more exploratory, right? So let me just preface this by saying a lot of this might change, right? But I wanted to give you guys some information. It's always risky when we give information really early, because then later on people will say, well, why didn't you do that? Or why did you change it? But I will decide to share this with you guys anyways. Basically, the plan all along was to connect the home regions. That's why we revamped them for update 32. We want to eventually connect them to the conquest. That's always been in the plan. But one thing we're exploring is the idea of having 2 home regions per side, so that you can launch your naval invasions from there into the world. So you'd be able to like travel from your home regions into the conquest via water, right? And so if you want to send, if you're like in the Colonial West home region that we've shown in this map, and you want to launch a naval invasion, you can do it into Oarbreaker, Fisherman's Row, or Westgate, right? And right now, in this current version, only players on your side are able to go to your home region. But we have some future aspirations of, maybe this should just be a natural thing where even the enemy is able to come to your home region. Obviously, there's a million problems we have to solve with that, which I don't want to get into, but that's sort of like a future aspiration, right? And we also want to explore the idea rather of logistics hubs being in the home regions and allow you to run some logic out of the home regions. And I think especially when you're on a losing side, this might help a little bit in providing another place for you to do logi. Potential other use cases is a better place for logi players that like to do larger scale logi or larger like operations, perhaps being able to do it out here instead of on the mainland might it might change some things, right? And that's kind of what we're interested in, right? We're interested. We're not really. I think at this stage we're not really saying this is some sort of like ultimate long-term solution. It's more like we want to try. This is the next step in trying a couple of new things, right? So that's it for home regions. And the final thing I want to talk about is the connecting trench network. So this is a project that we're working on right now, and our solution for one of the big issues when we introduced trenches version 1 was that separate trenches, there's no way to connect them, right? So we're working on we're doing a bit of research right now on figuring out how to do that. And our idea is to add a special trench piece that's able to be flexible, right? So that it can connect two separate trench networks, right? Which would make things, hopefully will alleviate a lot of the problems that people have with that right now. So basically it can resize itself to fit between two trenches. This is not an easy implementation, so it's still work in progress. And the screenshot shown here is just some of the early work, right? And yeah, that's kind of all we have to share about what we're working on right now. Obviously, this is just like a small subset of the larger picture, but these are just a few things that I think we're comfortable with sharing, right?
So what's really cool about that is you can make sort of the standard like zigzag sort of trench network if you really want, I suppose. If you go in like a straight line, you can kind of...
We'll see.
Let's hope. That would be the ideal.
We'll see how far it can go, but yeah.
All right, guys, start asking questions. We're probably gonna take off a little early today because today we're a little bit busy. So we're kind of wrapped it up a bit early though. So we got like 15 minutes for questions.
Yep.
I do have one question already ahead of time from Maybar. Minibar, not Maybar. You guys, your names are too similar. What will be in the improvements for squads and combining squads and operations together? Cheers from Liars Haven, Viking Minibar.
Yeah, so this is something that hopefully we can do for the spring update. And what we want to do is we want to allow people to work together at okay, let me take a few steps back. The whole goal of operations, right, where it's different from squads is we want operations to be the communications mechanism for longer term planning, right? So it's like squads are for right now, what I'm doing, I need to talk to these few people, and these few people are probably right next to you, right? Or very close to you. Now, the thing we want for operations is this is the thing that spans multiple sessions, right? This is the thing that's going to stick around, planning for longer plays, right? Longer strategy. So we want multiple squads to, in the ideal version of this, we would want multiple squads to make up a single operation, right? And we'd want, ideally again, we'd want to be able, players to be able to lock your vehicles and all the things you can squad lock right now. We would want to provide some sort of like operation lock, right? And we would want some sort of a capability for someone to be able to organize these multiple squads. So potentially some sort of a voice solution for like being able to say, I want to talk to, easily switch between talking to like the squad leaders of multiple squads inside like an operation, right? Now this is all like exploratory stuff. So, again, like whatever makes it in the end might not be what I'm saying right now, but these are like the aspirations we have for it, right? This is like the ideal sort of things that we want from that, right?
All right, here's a hard one for you, Mark.
Sounds good.
You can answer it or not. Canadian Pioneer says, will we ever get a relic factory so we can produce relic weapons and or get more relic weapons?
All right, you know what? I
feel like enough time has passed.
Finally, maybe we should say something about this. Relics for us, like, I feel like when we first launched Relics, we kind of spoiled it a bit by making it too common. And the whole spirit of relics is that it's a relic. It should be rare, right? It should be something that's special when you see it, and not everyone should be able to use one, right? This isn't a feature where it's like everyone gets to make a tank and make a relic tank and drive around with it. So we took it, and there was a lot of other issues with it, which is why they were taken off the table for a long time. And we always wanted to bring it back in a way that was in the spirit of what we originally wanted for it, which is for them to be super rare. So I think moving forward with relic vehicles, they will, I don't think they're always going to be there. I think we want to continue making them really, really rare. And maybe once in a while, you'll see them come back in some form. But I think that the long-term plan right now is to make them very rare, right?
I think like just anecdotally, when you see them, you might not see them after the next update for a time. They're not going to be a constant mechanic. And I guess that's kind of like all we should say about it, in my opinion. So I can't remember who asked it, but it was a question that I wanted to ask. What goes into our decision-making process for the size of the map?
Do you want to answer that?
No, like when for per war.
How many regions are open? Or
Like how many regions are open?
Right. So that's always...
So I'm not involved in that.
Oh,
so.
okay. The size of the conquest.
Yeah.
Well, I won't say what necessarily we're going to be doing. This isn't necessarily the philosophy we're going to be using moving forward, because these sorts of things are changing constantly, right? So what I'm saying right now is not how we're going to plan out the next war and the war after that. Mm-hmm. This is what we've done in the past wars, right? Mm-hmm. So specifically in the past wars, we generally don't like to close off regions if it's not necessary, because the world map was, all the regions, the hexes were made for the whole world to be open. So the ideal version is the whole world. But when the population is lower, we have one approach that we've taken in the last couple of wars, in the last, half year, is that the approach that was taken was that we would lower the number of regions to constrain the world a bit, so that the density of the players would be a bit higher. That's the approach we took, right? Now, moving forward, we're not certain that's an approach that we're gonna continue to take. Maybe we'll just always have the world open. Maybe we'll continue doing the same thing where we do constrain the world. Maybe there'll be some sort of a mix of the two, where the world is sometimes constrained, but maybe regions switch on and off on their own, to help with night swings and stuff like that. So my answer is that's the reasoning that we took in the past, but 100% that's not necessarily the reasoning that we're going to be using in the future, because the game's always changing. The game's changing, it's been changing for the last 3 years. The game's going to continue, even after 1.0, the game's going to continue to change for 3 years. Foxhole is not a known type of game that is made and is done, and you just have to polish it. There's no other game like Foxhole out there. So the only way we can go about it is just continuing to evolve it. Even after we start working on other projects, even after 1.0, still going to change. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Lek Origins, and like you were making fun of me for saying the name. How else am I supposed to say Lek? Is it Lek Origins? Lek Origins? Your name is Lek Origins. I guess it's not 2 words. Anyway, Lek asks, so with new snapping and shipping technology, when do you think this tech could be used to improve logistics?
It's a strange question. It's quite broad, because I don't necessarily... I see different ways that it can kind of be applied to logistics, but I don't see how it's directly related. It's a tough question. I don't know. Here's what I'll say. I think we can use the snapping technology for more structure building things in the game for building other types of things that might eventually help with Logi, right? Like building out different types of like infrastructure to speed up certain Logi activities, right? But yeah, I'm lost.
When something comes up, we'll use it.
Like, no, I mean, like the question is just so broad. I don't really. It's
Not as specific as it could be,
like,
probably.
I mean, we definitely will use snapping for more things.
I think what he's trying to get at is when are we adding trains? But anyway.
Oh, I see. Okay. I mean, was that a Lek question?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, why?
Well, yeah, what is it, a Lek question? I went on a diatribe about his name.
I would have struggled a lot less if I just knew. But
Doogji, which is a great name, asks, what is the difference between how these new home regions will work and how old port bases work?
right. Well, for one, they're not attached to the world, so they're probably not the best place for you to do Logi in general. Because if you've ever tried doing any kind of large scale or reasonable Logi over water, it's like, at least the game right now, it's not really easy. And you won't have everything available. Like the old port bases, you basically like, you have everything there. You don't ever have to like do anything else. There may be some element of that, but I think that it will be a little different. And really, it's not going to be something that's going to stop you from losing the war. I think that's the big difference, is that before the port bases, you pretty much was very hard for you to lose the war because they're right there next to like, the enemy is trying to come. They're trying to like take out your, regions where your port bases were in, so you can easily push back. But this is a much more like passive, because they're just going to be far away, right? You're not going to be able to like push out from your from your home regions and like make a counterattack on land in the same way, right? It's going to be much more difficult. If you do push out, it'll have to be naval. But I won't lie, there is a little bit of a similarity in some regards, and that's something that we are very much like aware of, and being very careful about. I think that's why we have some future aspirations to make it so that the enemy can actually go to your home region, right? I think the analog to like real World War II, right, that we sort of are making is that rather than it being just this invincible base on the mainland, it's sort of like in World War II, basically like Britain was like a home region in a way, right? Like across like the English Channel, you're kind of safe, right? And then you can push out from there, which they did, right? Essentially, and that's kind of where the philosophy behind it, right? And I'd love it in the future if you can like send some like bombers over there and try to bomb their home region, kind of have like a Battle of Britain type of thing. In the long-term future would be sort of like the pipe dream future, right? It's just not just this like invincible thing, but like you can send some bombers over and try to bomb their home region. I think that'd be kind of cool, right? But these are the kind of things that are going through our mind, right? So there are some similarities. We're being very careful about it, but it's not going to be the ultimate place for you to do Logi, and I think that's the biggest difference, right?
I saw a question up there in regards to that. It was less in regards to like how the home region will influence the main game or vice versa, but it was more in regards to if we had any consideration for people that use home region for teaching purposes, because if now it actually becomes, regardless of how useful it is,
Absolutely.
it becomes a hub,
Yeah.
an actual hub, and people cannot produce.
So
I know I
yeah,
personally have thought,
Yeah.
just as an aside, from a design perspective, I've thought quite a bit about that if we had to have them both in the same.
Yeah,
space.
and like one thing that I do want to say is it's why like when we move to that slide, I specifically said first and foremost, like this is completely exploratory right now, and I was almost very hesitant to even sharing that slide. This is why, right? Because it's like the questions are not all answered. So I'll kind of want to preface every one of these answers with that, is that this is, still being worked on, price you pay for sharing something early, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, the last question. I'm gonna have it be a doozy, and this is the only time I'm gonna ask this question. Okay.
The only time
Fire
ever.
away.
Actually, I'm gonna hold on. There's one question about lore, so I'm just gonna ask it because I don't get these opportunities. I'm not gonna try to pronounce her name.
Except every stream.
Datagon. Every stream, yeah. Every stream I'll ask a question. Ask how will the new home regions affect the lore? We'll figure it out. That's all I really want to say. Why do you hate Logi players, Mark? Let's just.
I don't answer. I already said last stream, man. I don't answer like questions like that because they don't.
Yeah, I told everybody that we're not answering questions like that. But
I mean, I don't mind if
basically,
you.
like,
Okay, fine.
What is the plan for Logi?
Let me
that's
rephrase.
been like a.
Listen, I'm not gonna answer questions like that. I'm not gonna answer questions about when we're gonna fix Logi, because fix is like fix. I hear this word a lot, right? And fix is, unless it's associated with a bug, I'm personally gonna ban the word fix because it makes no sense. Because fixing something for one person is a game-breaking thing for someone else, quite frankly. And we've seen that a million times, right? What we will do, so we're not going to fix Logi, first of all, right? What we will do is we're going to look at the feedback. We're going to look at the goals of the project. We're going to make some changes to hopefully make it better. Hopefully a large number of people are going to like it, or they're not, or they're going to hate it, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's what's going to happen for the next few years. We're going to continue making things better. People are either going to like it or they're not. We're human beings. We're trying our best. And that's really all I have to say about that.
So
right?
what I was hoping that you were going to say is that you don't hate Logi players. That should be clear, though. Like,
I like giving the roundabout answer, Matt. You should know that from me by now.
I just want to address this thing. It's like we don't hate certain players in the game, or we're not biased to certain factions.
I don't know. I like to kill Anthony every time I come across
Okay,
him.
yeah, me too. Also, like, I'm 100% Warden biased, but the truth is we're not biased. We're not we don't hate certain players of the game. We're honestly just trying to make the best game that we can, and that's what I really wanted to come around to here. Is like, we hear you, okay? We definitely hear you, but Mark's right. The word fix is like nebulous and impossible to quantify.
Yeah, well, like the reason why I want to answer that in that way, because like, of course, like we don't hate Logi players, but to me, what the question, why do you hate Logi players, to me is asking a very broad question of like, when are you going to fix Logi? Which is what a lot of people were asking like 2 streams ago, right? Mm-hmm. So I want to give like an honest answer, and that's the honest truth, right? Is like the honest truth is we're human beings. We're going to try our best to. I don't know about you, HP. Maybe
HP's not a human.
He's not human. The rest of us are human beings.
Did you see the drink he made last week?
Right. Except for HB, the rest of us are human beings. We're going to do our best work on the game for many years to come. And you guys are either going to like the results or you're not. You're going to quit and you're going to play something else. And that's really, I hope that doesn't happen. But really, at the end of the day, that's kind of, unfortunately, what's going to happen, right? So.
Well, I do have to ask you then a question that was asked for me. Why don't you abandon the goddamn vision of the game and just do what we want?
Oh, okay, yeah, like Star Wars, right?
Yes.
That's what we want?
Ooh, let's not go there.
On that note, HP, take us out.
Okay, everybody, thank you very much for joining us on another dev stream. We do these every 2 Tuesdays or bi-weekly at 2 p.m. EST on twitch.tv/foxholegame. We also put these on YouTube, so if you're watching this on YouTube, trying to get us on Twitch so you can, ask questions, and we'll try to answer them live. If not, we're going to try to answer the questions on the comments below, so post your question there. Join us on Discord as well, discord.gg/foxhole. And on the weeks that we are not on, if you don't want to hear about the game Foxhole, it will be weird because you're watching this stream, but if you don't want to hear about Foxhole and just want to hear us talk about different things, On the other days, on Wednesdays, on the other weeks, sorry, that we don't have the dev stream.
So next Wednesday there
So
will be
next
one.
Wednesday, there's going to be another one. It's going to be what we call Clapfoot After Dark.
And that is hosted by HB as well as myself and KFC.
Yep.
And we just kind of shoot the shit, honestly.
Yeah, let's see what we're trying this and hopefully
So
it's good.
you can find that at youtube.com/clapfoot and twitch.tv/clapfoot.
Yes.
And we'll be there every other week when we're not streaming. And sometimes we may have guests like Markfoot over here.
Maybe.
If he'll ever grace us with his presence.
I mean, I don't know. It's after dark. I don't know. He has a life to live.
So I think that's it.
Awesome.
With that,
Well, thank you very much, guys.
please, as always,
See you in 2 weeks.
stay foxy.
See you guys.
You guys interrupt.